Yes. So they bought Dune, I believe, the original copy of Dune for 3 million.
Oh, an original copy.
Oh,
Wow.
original copy of Dune. Okay, that makes sense for why that particular book would cost so much then, yes.
Why did they think buying an whatever?
Oh no,
Jeez.
it
Because
wasn't. So
these people know nothing about IP law and they know even less about technology.
also, welcome to the stream. But
Welcome to
no,
the stream. Don't buy NFTs.
they didn't actually buy Frank Herbert's Dune, the book. They bought a book of sort of about the making of a failed version of Dune. Which actually, if you look into it, is quite interesting. There was a failed film version by Jodorowsky, I think his name was, and it was just nuts. It had almost nothing to do with the original book. But they made a thing about. They wrote a book about the making of that, which was quite rare, and they bought that for 3 million and thought that they could then do whatever they wanted with the ideas in the book. No, you bought a book. Anyway, enough of that.
That's hilarious, though.
Technology. This was a while ago, I think, when NFTs were first big. And nobody had bothered to think about them yet. Welcome to Via.
As per usual, very VSS.
As usual, the beginning is extremely focused. I haven't even done that yet. Oh my god, streams, I'm bad at. One day I will stream well. Today is not that day. That's the problem with us.
Worse. I was watching a gal who's been doing a 24-hour stream for Extra Life, and so I went to bed because I went to bed, but she was still going, and so I woke up this morning and she was playing Baldur's Gate 3. And so just chilling in the chat with some of the other people, and it wasn't until a good hour in that any of us realized that her mic was off, because a friend of hers jumped into the Discord call and was obviously responding to things that none of us could hear.
Right.
And so it's just kind of like, why didn't you tell me? And it's like, well, we just all thought you were very tired and just vibing. Because this is the tail end of a 24-hour stream.
Oh, no. But you can hear us, right? Hi, Kiro, by the way. I think we should be audible. Meters on OBS are jumping up and down, and they're not grey, so...
Not sponsored.
What? Who?
I ought to.
Oh, no, the verb. No, the verb? Adjective, I guess. Not a noun. I'm not using audible as a noun. Yes, I thought you were saying it was sponsored by OBS. I'm like, they're open source. Weird thing to be sponsored by. We are audible. Hooray! Grand! Now we can worry about being interesting.
No.
Anywho, yes, Chib will be along a little bit later. They've got some meat space things to do. But yeah, we're back. Also, look at this little winky cat. It's very cute. Yes. So, okay, last time stuff happened. Does anyone remember it?
I remember I was gonna paint sea monsters. That's all.
Ooh. Yeah, because we did have prompts. I guess you had the Biss. No, you had the world, but I can't remember why we wanted sea monster. Anyway,
I
just
think
fun.
everyone got the Abyss, and that's why it's like, right, I'm just gonna do this.
Right, makes sense. I remember nothing.
Because sometimes getting the world is just sort of one of those things of okay.
Like the idea of putting the world on there, other than to bring everything up to having 10 things and it was nice and symmetrical, was basically so that you just sort of had a free thing. You could just do what you wanted. But also then it meant that I could add in an everyone space on the people side of things, so that everybody could do one thing as well. One person gets everything, and everybody gets one thing. Like a cute little... last time we headed into the caves, I believe. Well, we did a few things. One of those things was to go into the caves and consider flashbacks.
Oh yeah.
Coming across a bunch of statues whose memories sort of seep into yours, and you start getting flashbacks of the past. And you start seeing events from the Cataclysm sort of playing out through third-person people who weren't directly involved, but they were there. And that's what we were going to talk about today. And yesterday, I thought it was Sunday, and I went, "Oh God, I haven't thought about this at all." And then I realized, "Oh no, it's Saturday. Oh, it's fine. I've got time." And then I didn't think about it. So, such is the way of things.
Whoops.
Such is the way of me. So we could either talk about that, or we could talk about something else.
Talk about not doing things, or
Maybe we could talk about procrastination. I feel like that's a nice meta conversation. Rather than doing the thing we said we were going to do, let's talk about procrastination.
let's talk about anything else. That's what we usually do.
Yeah. So NFTs, eh?
I mean, we could go back to that.
Nah. There's not much to say, is there? It's just they're silly. Well, the way they're implemented and viewed has got very silly. As a piece of technology, it's somewhat interesting. But
Yeah, but not as useful as people like to think it is.
nah. It's an intriguing...
Because even with the whole thing of,
Ooh.
like, with cryptocurrency in general, having the thing where it's like, oh, we're keeping a very strict log and there's so much work you have to do to implement changes. Even with things that you don't want to change often, you still need an easy way to change things because humans make mistakes.
Yeah.
Humans be mistaken.
Yeah, well, and then it explicitly doesn't. One of the big problems with NFTs is a security problem that is not going to be fixed by technology, period. So, one thing with technology and database stuff is initial input. So basically just confirming that the initial thing that you are putting in is correct and valid. And there is nothing with NFTs that does that at the start. Yes, you can track to see where it went once it goes in, but there's nothing that says that the person who's initially putting in the image for the NFT has any legal rights to it, which is part of the reason why artists are so up in arms after this has been figured out, and why DeviantArt actually has a service that will check various NFT websites for your arts to see if anyone has tried to mint a thing using your creative work.
Oh boy.
Yay!
And I mean, to a certain extent, there's a lot of stuff that also doesn't control for that. So this is why with on Twitter there was that one thing where you'd have bots crawling through where whenever anyone would comment on a thing where it's like, oh, this is a neat image, I'd like to see it on a shirt, and then a bot would pick up the image and then just put it on a shirt.
Oh yeah.
And sell it on like Redbubble or something like that.
And
so
people...
like this is already a thing where it's like this is already a known problem. It's just that NFTs now make it even more difficult to remove things that aren't right.
My favorite thing with the shirt one was people realizing, oh, there's these things that, you know, if someone says you should put that on a shirt, it just takes the image and automatically puts it on a shirt without asking anybody. So people realized if we start posting that like under Disney pictures, like pictures by companies that are known to sue, then these bots are automatically going to put it on a shirt, and they're going to get a cease and desist.
Yeah.
I like that
It's like that meme with the Thor movie. It's like, you can't defeat me. I know. Like, I can't, but he can.
one.
Okay, this cat is just gonna be goofy, I guess.
Completely forgot. I was going to Google a reference for something, and then I started Googling a reference for the thing that I made up in my head associated with this, and that's not. There's not going to be any results for that.
Not likely, no.
Oh, Goofy Cat's seen some things.
It's telling me it's seen some things and I can't erase it.
Why can't you erase it? Or just in
Can't
general?
erase the seen some things part. I've done the eyes many times now.
Oh, right. Right. So, I don't think that's gonna work. References. Is that gonna work? Probably not. I have an idea, but I don't know what it looks like.
Great.
And this is the issue.
As is usually the issue with art.
There's a lot of ways this could work, and I don't really know if any of them will work.
Well, try one, see how it goes.
I'm on my fourth.
Try another one, see how it goes.
Another one bites the dust.
I'm not the only one struggling. Yeah.
Is it going like a turtle? Maybe? May turn into a turtle. It's weird, because this is the least natural. I got the Golden City, and I'm trying to come up with a fun trio for the Golden City. Because that's been our thing for the past few streams. Fun trios.
Yeah.
Well, we have a not-so-fun singular armor gentleman who's
I'm gonna...
over armor.
I'm gonna put that on my my CV.
Not so fun singular.
I'm a not so fun singular.
Because character-wise, so Lewis has set up the idea of what people there were like, but as far as like set characters with names, we just have the one guy Dark came up with, who's sort of stealing people's armor.
You've got that. Chibi did have a couple. Chibi had Little Bucket Boy, and the spirit that sort of... I don't know if they're technically in the Golden City. I think they're still in the caves, but the spirit who sort of regrets leaving.
Yeah, but that's not in the city. That's down near the pools. The one person who was there at Ground Zero and decided, hey, I don't actually want to go up to the Golden City. Or maybe eventually decided they don't want to stay in the Golden City and is now having trouble getting into the afterlife because there's a line. There's a very long line.
There's a very long line. I mean, this picture itself is not going to work out, but there's ideas. I think they're really small, but over there. Oh, go away, chat. Ah. Oh god, no, everything broke. The shortcuts are different in this program than the programs I'm used to using. Help? Anyway, did everybody have a nice weekend? Yeah.
Riding with
I had an outreach thing yesterday where we had a bunch of. So here it's referred to as 4th and 5th grade. Let me see if I can work my way backwards for the ages there. So like a bunch of 10 to 12-year-old girls, where we do an outreach with science and math and tech stuff. And I did a presentation where I got to show them some algebra tricks.
Eee.
Those are always really funny because even after I explain how the trick works, half of them don't believe me.
Maths. It's magical. I also see an Gamer King.
the Great King themselves.
Hello.
Oh,
Hello.
The king is here.
the king! I don't know any references with kings.
I don't either.
I can think of at least one musical that has the word roi in the title.
That's true.
Try not to stress much over health and election anxiety. Oh no! You be relaxed. Read comics.
What are you drawing, Chris?
Things.
Okay, cool.
Trying to come up with a trio of characters for the Golden City.
Oh, okay.
So just sort of starting with shapes and seeing where I go.
Mm-hmm.
Problem is, shapes have to fit in armor.
I don't know what. Have you guys talked any Project Ria yet, or
Kind of.
mostly tangents?
We recapped some of the things we talked about before, and the idea of like flashbacks in the caves and all that.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't add anything to it.
Okay. Good to know.
But it was a thing that was said.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're mostly just figuring out what all we have with the Golden City, because right now we have ideas for like city structure and government, quote unquote, but the only two, like, we only have got like a couple of characters and they're all very separate from each other. So we've got Dark's character that will seal the armor. We've got the one spirit you designed who seems to be something where it's like, well, maybe they were in the Golden City, but clearly they don't. They want to pass on, and they're just having trouble doing it.
Yeah.
Because there's a line.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the bucket hat ghost thing. And we have the crab in a glove, but that's not really a resident of the city in the same sense.
How dare.
The very important resident of the city. You don't talk to him at all.
Of course, they're a resident. They carry their residents around with them.
Yeah. They're as much dressed as everyone else.
Oh yeah, we also talked about NFTs.
Oh, okay. I remember drawing a character and then just having never done anything else with it. I drew it and then I threw it into the void.
That's basically this project, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty sure the problem in this project is that things aren't getting into the void.
But Tish.
I mean-
But appropriate thematic joke.
It's like, who do we need in the Golden City right now? Like, we need a...
Oh yeah, Chibi, you also designed. I now remember you made the really neat artwork of the armored with the staff.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, that feels like less like this is someone in a gremlin group of 3, and more like,
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't know. This feels like someone who's like at the top,
Yeah.
literally and figuratively.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've just come up with an idea of people who like make armor.
I mean, you need them too.
I don't know
we've
whether
also got the door guard. The door guard who is also the door.
The door guard who is
Yeah.
also the door. Self-guarding. Remember to self-guard every now and then. You're worth it.
And then we've got Volric, who's just a lovely gentleman, obviously. Yeah, a lot of singular entities. Not any that lend itself well to like little clumps.
Yeah,
That's all.
Although, granted, if this is the place, if there's a significant amount of admin work that needs to be done, if you're trying to get into any place, it might be less a trio and more there are 3 people who are annoying in different ways.
I mean, that's just the entire Golden City, isn't it?
The 3 administrators. You got to deal with the 3 secretaries.
Mm-hmm.
And not the 3 administrators, because we're not important enough to go see them yet. The 3 administrative assistants.
Right. Yeah. Need more armor to get to the administrator.
I've tried to draw this character approximately 10 times.
Commit, Chris.
I can't! They're going to be laying down.
Now I'm just imagining having to fight off some administrative assistants because you didn't fill out paperwork correctly.
At least anyone's like armored Vogons. If anybody's seen Hitchhiker's Guide. Or read. Or listened to. There have been a lot of versions of that. Do they have poetry, is what I'm asking.
Honestly,
Do
probably.
we want to listen to whatever poetry they might be making, is what we're asking.
I mean, no, so the answer is yes, they absolutely do have poetry.
Sorry, Lois, your cool city has turned into a city of Vogons with bad poetry and administration.
I mean, you wanted them to be the worst, right? Or did we just make that up as well?
No, I think the idea of this was they're just awful.
Yeah, I'm looking over the initial short thing that we've got from Lewis, and yeah, it's we're all shape, no substance, and in a twist that I'm sure none of us remembered and or were thinking of when we set this. The race is actually the after image and echo of a species long destroyed that refuses to move on. A dead race walking, their history is long forgotten by most, or obfuscated and hidden away, with the truth buried but morbidly unable to be removed entirely.
Yeah, I'd completely forgotten about that, but that is exactly what we ended up writing, wasn't it?
No, I did know that.
Oh,
I
okay.
think that's why the idea first came about, that they were the spirits of.
Oh, that's just me being an idiot then.
I
That's
will
fair.
freely admit I had forgotten that particular note.
Okay, let's scratch that. It's Chibi just being clever.
Maybe you just remembered it in the back of your brain, not the front of your brain.
Oh, you assume my brain has more than one space in it.
The
There isn't.
brains have rooms. I didn't know that.
Mine has a waiting room, and that's it.
It's like a fairy brain, it can only have one emotion at once.
No ambivalence.
But yeah, point is they are not great people. And I'm sure even the people who are less not great are still wanting to try and claw themselves up the social ladder, because that's what you should do. I mean, the little hermit crab living inside of a helmet obviously has done no wrong, but also that's not really one of the ghosts.
Never up for debate. They've never done anything. That much is true.
Ooh. What's a little leaf cat? No. Just once again, double checking is pretty standard at this point. You probably know. But Christy, you know you're not in the thing, yeah?
Yeah, I was in
cool.
coach.
Cool. Just checking. Like I say, it's pretty.
Okay.
Yeah, leaf cat.
Jag spelar en Pokémon.
Yeah.
It's leafy cat.
I drew the face and then I was like, this looks like Raichu. And then I drew the body and was like, this is an evolution of Eevee now. Cool, great.
Who knew Raichu and Eevee were so closely related?
Yeah, well, I mean, Leafeon is a thing, so...
That still sounds made up.
I mean, it is.
Well,
all of the Pokemon are made up.
I know.
But yeah, I'm not a fan of its design and name. It's just rather uninspired.
They haven't done them all yet, have they? There's still a
No.
bunch of types they haven't done.
No, they what was it that like they did for all the certain type? I don't remember. Ignore everything I just said.
Never! I'll commit it to memory.
No.
For as long as my
we've
memory
got
lasts, which is 3 minutes.
Fire, electric, ice, psychic, dark,
Was like all
Ice,
types that
leaf, or ice plant, grass, I should say, and fairy.
was like something like all of the types that landed on one side of the physical special split or something that they did. That is something like that. I don't know. I watch PokeTubers. Maybe they're not always right.
But there's like...
I think dark used to be physical.
I
have to
don't
check.
know.
Okay, so it's all the special ones, I guess. Is grass special? I don't think there was
the
that
grass
clean a
was
split.
special before the physical special split. It's just that I don't remember. Okay, dark type moves were special before the split. It must be Ghost I was thinking of. Yeah, Ghost was physical for some reason.
Why is what? This is
Which
nonsense.
doesn't make any sense to me.
This game is
Yeah,
nonsense.
Yeah,
Physical
before the
ghost
physical
was-
special split, Ghost
That-
type moves were physical attacks.
That absolutely contradicts the point of ghost type being like unaffected by normal and vice versa. The one is physical and one isn't.
Also unaffected by fighting types.
Yeah,
So. Yeah,
which is
I
very
get it.
handy for my ghost playthrough.
This is not me saying it makes any sense.
This Pokemon needs to be burned down and built from the ground up.
But there is a split now between physical and special, so it is now the case that some are physical and some are special.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, then it was like before the split what type they were, and that's what they are still doing. And also fairy, I guess.
Yeah, Fairy came after the split, so all of its stuff is split anyway. Though Dragon, it looks like, was special before the split.
Oh.
Mm.
Expect
So
Dragon
it
Eevee
isn't-
soon.
Doubt. Press X to doubt.
Yes, Kiro, all Pokemon are special.
No.
Honestly, if the Pokemon Company was smart, they would have already like done an Eevee for every type. It's literally what everyone wants. That plays, or at least the big majority of Pokemon players who are fans of Eevee.
There have been so many evolution, like fake mon-evolutions
yeah.
for all of the types that are not filled in yet.
But
Exactly.
maybe it's a
Well,
slightly more like meta thing of like, well, if we fill them all up, then that's gonna make it so that people won't want to make their own.
No. Pokemon
Like, the
doesn't
only
care
thing-
about that.
The only thing I could see being an issue is they design it and basically fans are upset because it doesn't meet expectations, but that's...
Yeah,
That's
but
standard
Pokemon
at this
also didn't care about that. They made the fairy type a thing. Yeah.
Wasn't there always a fairy type?
No,
No.
Pretty
fairy
recent.
type was introduced in Generation
6?
Yes, Kalos. That's 6, I believe. Yeah.
One of the weird, I recently did my ghost playthrough on that, and for some reason I thought in my head they made a bigger deal of it
Yeah.
because there's a fairy gym, but there's also 7 other gyms.
Yeah, it's also like it's not like one of like it's not the first gym as like, oh,
No.
this is your introduction to a new type. It's like the 6th or 7th or something like that.
it's 5th or 6th, I think.
Like,
but it's
That's a weird like point in the game to have like, you know, your major like person uses that type to be introduced. You know?
But the thing I did think was like, oh, they should have made a bit bigger deal out of it. This is a huge sort of introduction. But at the same time, if this is your first game, your first Pokemon game, and they just make a big deal of one of the types inexplicably, it's going to
Yeah.
feel out of place, right? So I kind of get it.
Yeah, I guess so, but also like, I mean, I guess they also didn't make as much of like a big deal of it when like Steel and Dark were introduced in Gen 2.
No. But that was
Dark-
Gen 2, you know?
Yeah, exactly. That was Gen 2, and also like that generation that just like everyone dirty. Yeah. Because, like,
Well, I mean, there's a lot of, like, every single time they introduce a new thing, they don't necessarily do a whole lot with it. Like, the only things I can think of where it's, like, a major thing in the game is the Mega Evolution Stones and the Gigantamax stuff.
yeah.
Because, like, with double and triple battles, it's like, oh, there's one gym that does double battles.
I think wasn't the Mega Stone, wasn't that also Gen 6? Like, there's a bit more of that in the story. Some significant characters have Mega Evolutions, and you get the stone as part of the plot, which, well, plot, he says in inverted commas. But even, I feel like the Gigantamax is
a Pokemon game with plot, you go to the side games. You don't go to the
yeah, exactly. But I feel like the Gigantamax, at least that I don't know much about those games, but from what I've seen, that is at least a little bit more significant to the location, or there's something about the story where Gigantamax is actually more important than just Mega Evolution's a thing now. You have a stone.
It actually it becomes like a major part of the plot, I believe.
Yeah, and I'm saying that's
as
sort
far
of
as Pokemon does plots, you know.
That's sort of the exception rather than the rule, because a lot of the time when they introduce new battle mechanics, it's just there.
Oh god, you made me think about the Sword and Shield hair people again.
Yes, Swordward and Shieldbert.
Oh god, I hate their names. I've tried to blank those out.
Friends, please remember Swordward and Shieldbert.
No.
The ultimate British representation.
No.
Yeah, those were a choice. Not a good choice, but a choice.
Honestly, in a game full of pretty damn good character design, I don't know how those two got in there.
They bought their way in, obviously.
Yeah. But yeah, those are bad.
And the thing is, like, one of them is objectively worse than the other. So, like, the shield guy, his haircut, it looks weird, but it still looks like...
Yeah.
It looks like something I would expect to see in a Pokemon game.
Yeah. The sword is absolutely heinous.
That was a choice. That was a choice, and it was a bad one.
I remember seeing them for the first time in a meme where because like when Pokemon Sword and Shield came out, everyone was like joking, okay, the next, like, you know, third part of the series or something like that, you know, the sequel fix it every game of Sword and Shield is gonna be Pokemon Gun. And then they came up with, you know, a third character that could belong with those two, and they named him Gunther. His hair was a gun. I just remember seeing that. I was like, those two aren't real. None of this is real. This is stupid.
Yeah, I remember first discovering them like a month ago in a conversation where you subjected me to them.
Against your consent. Yeah.
I considered myself lucky for not having seen them before that.
But now you know they exist.
Oh, apparently there's good timing for Dark to, who is now in Discord named Anti-Christmas Dark. There's apparently a mimic Pokemon now.
Yeah, I saw.
Which is a bit weird, because that's what Voltorb was, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we've got a few things that are all mimics, but this is just now a chest.
It's a little guy.
Look happy. They look happy.
Little guy in the chest. Like,
hey, I got money.
I'm too mad at it. I just, you know, it's fine.
Yeah, you've got Voltorb. You've got the
Fungus.
What was the name of the mushroom?
Fungus.
There's a mushroom that also looks like the
I'm gonna keep saying fungus.
Arguably, Ditto is the most mimic of them all.
Yeah. Mimikyu,
Mm-hmm.
naturally.
Zorua, also. I mean, that one does more people, but also still.
Who now?
Zorua. And Zoroark.
Oh, I've heard of Zoroark.
Yeah, the
Zorua's the baby
spirit
version.
fox things.
Yeah, they do like illusions, and then like one of the games becomes a child.
Okay. Can it talk? Can it like communicate?
No, it cannot talk. That's
Okay.
the thing that's supposed to make you think of like, oh, this might not be a normal person because it doesn't talk at all. And then at the end of the game, everyone goes like, oh, was actually a Zorua all along.
Damn, they've ruined my twist for M.
Yeah.
I mean, we have other things that look like other things, but that's just how Pokemon is.
Oh yeah.
Like the one that's ice cream.
Yeah.
It's not pretending to be ice cream, it just looks like ice cream.
Or the sand castle that
Yeah.
eats Pokemon.
I think that one
balls.
actually might be pretending to be a sandcastle.
Yeah, that one
But
pretends
that's-
to be a sandcastle and then it eats people's or Pokemon's souls and then spits out their lifeless husk.
Yeah. That's fine, don't worry about
Canonically.
it. Pokemon!
Like
Okay.
a castle one that doesn't eat children.
Most of the ghost Pokemon eat children.
Yeah, even like
I just
the
mean-
Okay.
the new
we need to
puppy.
caveat here. Most of them at least try,
Yeah.
but some of them are not very good at it, canonically.
Some of them just
Yeah.
abduct children. And that's
Or
you know.
try to. So you've got Drifloon, who canonically tries to abduct children, but it's a balloon, so it just sort of gets carried around by the children.
I hadn't thought of it that way before.
Yeah, it's a lot of the ghost Pokemon are very much like, oh, they're stealing people's souls, or carrying them away, or abducting them, or kidnapping them, or I believe even the newest one is like a puppy that if you play with the puppy, it steals your life force, so you cannot play with it too long.
Aw.
Yeah, that's a bit like Litwick. Steals your life force by tricking you into. It makes you think if you're lost in the woods or something. It goes, follow me. I'll get you out of here. And then it just walks you round and round and round in circles, draining your life force.
Yeah, that's
But
why
yeah.
immediately like Pokemon theorists went like, oh, because the new dog has like a little candle on his head, like the same color as Litwick. So they were like, oh, maybe the dog and Litwick are connected. It's like
I
distrust.
hear the words Pokemon theorist in exactly the same way as I hear like ancient aliens people talk about what is it? Ancient astronaut theorists. Stuff like that. It's just like, okay.
Yeah.
People who reckon things. Got it.
Mm-hmm.
Are these chaps looting?
No. No, they're doing the opposite. They are making things. Or they're trying to
Is
make
one
things.
guy just a table?
Is an anvil.
Ah.
And that's what I was trying to work out. How do you properly pose somebody to make them look like an anvil? Answer: have them lay down. And then I thought, well, why are they laying down? Well, maybe they're just like really excitable, so they have to just be held down so they can actually do the anviling. So they're just covered in chains.
Oh no. That's honestly adorable. But also, that is so rude.
Yeah, and there's a lot of other potential implications there as well.
Such
We
as.
won't get into it.
Well, I don't have anything else to talk about, so let's get into it. Talk about characters with weapon-shaped hair. Started, do you think of characters with weapons for faces? Which made you think of Chainsaw Man. Okay. They think about a Pokemon Chainsaw Man crossover. This is something that has passed me by.
Oh yeah, Chainsaw Man.
Does Chainsaw Man have a chainsaw for a face?
I thought you were asking if Chainsaw Man had a chainsaw.
I mean,
I would be very disappointed if Chainsaw Man did not have a chainsaw.
I know there's a little, like, mascot character that's got a chainsaw in their face. Like, sticking out of their face.
Oh, lovely. Another cute little mouse. Imagine Pikachu with a...
A chainsaw for a face?
well, probably like an exposed wire or something that's just buzzing away. Like a defibrillator. Your mind is going places and you have no control. Have you watched these streams?
We haven't talked about Project Via for like most of the time, I believe.
Exactly.
At least most of the time that I'm here. Oh my.
We are very much desperate to go back to just normal doodle streams that our brains refuse to talk about Project Via at all.
It's like, I want to talk more about the plot, but also how do you talk about the plot?
Yeah, exactly. It's okay. Should we start talking about the flashbacks
Yeah.
and what's going on with them? 'Cause I
Sure.
don't know what's going on with them.
Okay. What was the idea there? I forgot. Wasn't here for the read.
Okay, so we had this idea of we're walking through the caves, and the deeper you get into the caves, the more you start seeing statues of certain people, and there are memories lingering around these statues which you experience in flashback. Because I think the original idea for the cave was that people who go too deep start losing their memories, but because you're technically dead, the opposite happens, and you start getting the memories of the statues around, and you start to experience I think maybe specifically the cataclysm through the eyes of people who weren't directly involved but who were there.
Right. Okay. Well then, the easiest question to ask, with probably the hardest answer, who the fuck were they?
Yes, that was I believe at the end of the stream I went, let's go off and think about that.
Yeah, and then we didn't, as
and
per
then,
usual.
As usual. Did not.
Quick question. How does one spoiler a picture on Discord?
Are you putting in a link or are you putting in the picture?
The picture.
There should be a button that says click to spoil or something like that. Click for...
Okay. Thanks.
With a link you just do the 2 lines like you would text. And then it will automatically spoil the image. Or unspoil, you know what I mean. So yeah, we want people from the time period. And because we like the idea of there being another trio, but it sort of makes more sense for these 3 people to have different perspectives.
Yeah, so they're like a trio, as in they're a trio in the cave and their memories are connected, but
yeah.
They weren't a trio in the past. In the past, they were just 3 people who probably never even met.
Oh yeah, we were talking about Eternal Darkness, weren't we? Just similar sort of thing.
I don't remember that.
Ooh. Well, it is Funky
I
Friends.
couldn't figure out how to spoiler it. Sorry.
That's alright. Oops. Oh god. Well, there it is. Full screen.
It's sea monsters.
Sea monsters!
Yay, sea monsters.
Hey. Like the one in the middle. It's cute.
Yeah.
I like the
little
one that's
panda
going,
skeleton.
ah!
There's a couple.
That one was fun.
One of them's going, ah, and the other one's going, oh no! One of the top's going, yeah, you did it again.
I'd like at least one of the 3 to be a wizard. of
That
some
makes sense.
description.
A wizard.
Like, I don't know, like, what kind of insight they'd have in the whole thing, whether they would know about the experiment or whether they're just there and were doing their own thing and kind of are going like, huh, that might be a problem.
Maybe they were like tangentially related. They provided some sort of thing for the experiment. They didn't really know what was going on. They just know, oh, I'm the one who makes the magical cheese, and they use the magical cheese for the thing. And they're like, what do you need this for? Nah, don't worry about it.
And because they're a wizard,
I mean, I
it's
guess
just
it
like,
depends
yeah,
on
sure.
where we want the wizard knowledge to come in, because we've also got stuff at the. Because if you go far enough with whatever sub-story, side stories are happening on with the archivist, Wizard MacGuffin, you could find the original thesis.
Mhm.
You might not understand what it's saying, but you can find
Yeah, but
it.
it does. Have you ever read those things? No one will.
The just silly thought that I'm gonna have to get out of my head, but I like the idea of one of the three memories just as a last like remark before it fades out, just going like, this is gonna be so much paperwork, and then it just cuts off. Like that's their last thought before they died.
That's a horrid last thought to have.
It's admin. This game is all about the horrors of admin.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Which is why so many of the mini games just revolve around admin.
But
Yeah, okay, so we've got a wizard.
one wizard. I assume like one Golden City person who did kind of move on, I guess, but also
Oh, maybe one of the three here. If it is someone who's Golden City, it can be your the character you designed, where it's like this is a Golden City person, but they're here stuck in the line.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I like the idea of somebody who's like, somebody who was there, and then everything happened, and then they joined the Golden City lot who left, and then you can talk to them because they're. I guess maybe that sort of helps with the idea of like maybe they don't fully remember everything. That they probably don't remember an awful lot of what happened beforehand, which is why you have these stray memories in the caves. Because where did the memories go? They haven't been processed. They're just sort of all floating around. And so you end up finding maybe they don't even know. You know that they're the same person.
Yeah.
This person in flashback and this person here now, but they don't.
Yeah, that'd be cool. That it's the same person, but just one is memory and other is like, this weird remnant that's just kind of wanting to move on.
That's cool. I like that.
Yeah. I like that because also it just also emphasizes that the Golden City people, they don't remember anything, they haven't learned anything. They're here to just do the same shit over and over again until someone stops them.
Yay!
And some of the few people who know are the ones down in the ocean, and they're just kind of like, right, okay, so if we just nuke them from orbit.
Yeah. What if we get to them first and just fuck them over? Would that help? We think yes. Okay, so one wizard, the Golden City, the memories of the Golden City person, and who's number 3?
Mailman. I don't know.
Mailman.
Yep, a mailman of the past, just caught in the crossfire.
Mm,
They delivered the big red button. But,
so silly, but just the idea of someone you're going into someone's memories. You just got this like memory of a wizard who's kind of like, you know, knows some things, doesn't know everything, but also is clearly aware that this isn't great and like, you know, maybe something went wrong, but also not too aware because they're a wizard. And you have this Golden City person who kind of, you know, regrets stuff, remembers stuff, and then you just have a mailman who goes like, God, I had this express delivery on this red button, and now I'm late.
the player was so happy that the delivery section of the game was over, and now suddenly mail flashbacks.
Mail flash.
Which is also minigames.
And it's now
posting.
timed.
There's a post-sorting minigame in the flashback.
Another one, because you've been doing that already.
Yeah. Just more.
Why did I choose to draw a character covered in chains? This is not a good idea. Just doing my usual squiggle.
Yeah. It's good enough. It doesn't need to be rendered.
Well, that's where you're wrong.
No. I'm really not.
Turns up you are.
No. I'm never wrong.
Gamer King is never wrong.
You can't prove that I'm wrong.
Proof that Chib is never wrong. Axiom number 1. Chib is never wrong. Ergo, Chib is never wrong.
Exactly. I'm never
QED.
wrong.
Like the Socrates is a man, Socrates is all men are mortal except we have Chib, and Chib is not a man. Therefore, Chib is not mortal.
Chib is king. Gamer king.
Yes. This is correct.
See, does the mailman, who is the mailman from the past also a lizard, or is that a thing that happens subsequently?
I don't know.
I mean, on one hand, it would make more sense for it to not be, because we've got this idea that a lot of the races that we're seeing sort of developed afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
But I also want to say it would be really funny if the game just reused the same asset. So it's literally, it looks like it's literally just the same male lizard.
Yeah. Really unrelated.
Just purely for shit posting. Like, it's like, oh, we have this one character that we don't even really see because we're doing it first person view, fuck it, we don't want to design a new model. Let's just use the male lizard again.
And then game development
Either
changed.
that, or they like very clearly used like the player model who wears a post uniform at some point.
Actually, like from a game, like from just like a story perspective sort of view, it would be sort of interesting if when we're in these memories, we're not seeing them, we're seeing us.
Oh, I see. Right.
Also, it gives us an excuse to finally make the life of these non-existing game developers easier.
This is the one thing they get.
It's the one thing. Chris,
Hi.
does this person have hooves?
Just big shoes. And anything heavy to stop them running.
Okay.
Specifically not running away, just running. They just like to move real fast. Very distracting.
I feel
Right,
bad
yeah,
for
yeah.
this character.
But yeah, the one thing, as is often the way with the way my brain works, I thought was going to be the suggestion that was put forward by Ragdoll, but it turns out Ragdoll came up with something else. We are dead, right? So when did we come from?
That's an interesting question.
Is that something best left a mystery, or is that something to be explored? Maybe we meet up, maybe not knowingly meet ourselves, but
It would be interesting to have like an implied like this was you before everything.
I mean, it might also be interesting if we aren't a singular anything. Because if we're just sort of an administrative error, we might just sort of be like a third of 3 different souls stapled together and let out into the world.
oh no, we're October.
It's like this weird
we're not
Frankensteinian
lucky.
thing where it's like, just stick this on here and this on here, and it's just go, just do something useful.
Go make yourself useful.
Can make yourself useful and fix causality. What? I don't even know who I am. Fix it. Well, these are 3 characters, I guess.
I mean, your character has to get armor somehow to, get into the Golden City proper.
Yeah, I'm wondering whether or not we need to do stuff for them. Something's gone wrong with their armor production line, and we need to help them. And that allows us to get armor and all that sort of stuff. They need something that isn't armor. The only people in the Golden City who need something that isn't armor.
They need iron.
Yeah.
Please, we beg of you. We do not get armor by the end of this week. Everyone will be here and clawing at our doors for armor. So we need iron right now.
We have a new CEO, and they're going to fire 75% of the staff if we don't meet quotas.
Oof.
We're left to fix this mess, and also people keep impersonating the CEO.
Oh. My canvas just flashed white then. Bit weird. But hey, look, pose!
Ah, get a
Heroic-looking
bottle.
pose.
And the more I think of it, the more I sort of like the idea that part of the reason why, as we're walking through, we're sort of hearing echoes of memories of all of these people stuck in the line is we are literally made of bits of the people stuck in the line.
You're drawing Shilbert.
No, I'm not.
Good. I was going to leave the stream.
No, I'm trying to draw my little plant protagonists, but I don't remember what they look like.
Big ol' leaves. Hang on. I have a handy reference. It's called the Project Via Gallery.
Yeah, I'm on that as well.
Oh, okay.
The only way I can remember anything.
Good draws. In which you keep good clothes. Right, okay, so... Do we know anything about the Golden City person from the past? Well, they're not the Golden City, they're the Golf Course City.
Golf course. Has a slightly not as good ring into it, but you know.
Yeah. Lawntopia.
Lawns.
Where is the picture of that character? I think it was in the caves. Yeah, it's in the caves on the Project
Yeah,
Via
because
website.
they're there longing. Yeah, so do we know anything about their past life, or other than their general attitude to what's happening? It's like one of the first things ever drawn for the project, wasn't it?
Probably.
Well, with the pictures Chiba's drawn, they seem to be sort of reaching out to flowers, but that sort of works with the poppy field, where it's like I'm longing to just leave this place. So I guess we sort of just need to figure, do we want this to be someone who... I guess we sort of need to figure out how much each of these characters knows, because we know they don't know the whole thing and they're at different bits with it. So maybe this is someone who is aware of sort of the crisis of the city as a whole, like from a moral standpoint. Because the wizard obviously does not care, because they're wizards. And if the third person is a mailman, they might not know either. So they're just sort of seeing things from the ground level of like, what the heck just happened here?
I think the Golden City person would know as to like why the Golden City is like funding this experiment, kind of like this PhD thesis. While the wizard knows more like what, you know, the thesis is about, I guess.
Because presumably, like, I'm assuming the wizards aren't in charge of the city, right? They're just there. They do things, and they've just sort of got this PhD student. And they're like, they have an exciting new project. It's like, oh, we could use this to our advantage. So the city planners are like, yes, we'll do this. So I guess you have a sort of administrative. Keep bringing up bloody admin.
It all boils down to admin.
So you have the people who are sort of like running the show. Like, so theoretically this character could be involved in that side of things. They're not necessarily, you know, a governor or anything like that, but somebody working to look after the city in one capacity, and they tangentially interact with whatever the hell this is happening over here. This weird thing involving, we don't know what it involves really, but
Are they another administrative assistant? Is that how they know what's going on?
Magical civil servant. I don't know.
The only two jobs in this world are merchant and admin.
There's postman as well, which is a kind of in between merchants and admin. What other jobs?
They're the admin of the merchants.
Yes, yeah. Look, we used all our interesting character ideas up in 16 symbols. So.
Basically.
I feel like this could definitely be someone who's in a sort of mid to low, just administrative assistant position where they can see, they can sort of, I don't even know what words I want to use here. They can sort of see that the place is going rotten from like a moral standpoint, but there's very little they can do about it.
And then the new CEO takes over, and they get locked out of their magic computer. They find out they're fired.
Magic computer. Are we gonna have like computer and cell phone equivalents?
It wouldn't be the first fantasy story to do it. I mean, just straight up Final Fantasy 15, you just drive around in a car. Actually, isn't it a branded car?
Oh, probably.
I don't know, I haven't played that game. But well, I mean, even in Final Fantasy 7, you have a mobile phone in that. It's called PHS, but it's a mobile phone.
I mean, anyone who wants to try and make the argument that Final Fantasy has ever been pure medieval fantasy low tech needs to explain to me where the airships came from in the first game.
Yeah. I mean, there's always a bit in those games where you're like, oh yeah, this is not a normal fantasy. There's one of them, I won't spoil which, where you're just merrily going along your merry fantasy story, and then all of a sudden, giant robot comes out of a mountain. I'm like, okay, that happened. Suddenly it's Power Rangers.
Can be jarring.
It took me by surprise, I'll tell you that. Like, the story goes some places, but that was the one where I was like, what?
Oh yeah, and like I have no issue with, because to a certain extent, for the longest time, the line between what was considered sci-fi, science fiction, and what was considered fantasy was not a hard one at all. Except for some like really extreme cases, there's a lot of mixing between the two. So I have no issue with quote-unquote fantasy stories having sci-fi elements or science fiction stories having weird fantasy elements.
Yeah.
It's just always funny to me when people are like, oh yeah, this is just a hard medieval sci-fi, and it's like the airships. Airships,
Yeah.
my good sir.
Well, fantasy, fantasy does not mean medieval. It's fantasy. It's just something fantastical. In the same way that horror doesn't mean scary. It just means horrifying. The clue's in the word. And yet we've there is such a solid brand of this is fantasy. It has to be wizards and dragons and peasants and kings, and it's like, no. Fantasy can be whatever you want it to be. And then Final Fantasy...
Fantasy can be just a lot of admin.
Yes. Have you considered admin fantasy?
Fantastic.
I wonder why nobody has ever considered it.
It's frankly astonishing.
I mean, to be fair, any sort of RPG is going to have a lot of admin involved, even on just like the character setup side of things. So.
Oh god, I just finished playing Bloodstained Symphony of the Night. There's so many crafting things. A lot of things involving ingredients and grinding and sorting out what goes where and... Admin! This is why I'm thinking of admin. Because I've done a lot of it. I got all the achievements and it involved a lot of admin. Alchemy admin.
Alchman.
You're right there, you're turning into me.
Listen. We've been spending a lot of time together, okay?
Maybe you should spend some time away from me, just for your own personal health. This is not a good thing to happen. Right. Admin. So yeah, we got this idea of this character is like... None of the characters can really have an effect or have a influence over what's happening. But they all interact or tangentially contribute in one way or another. Be it through delivering important things or running the business end of the systems that cause the problem or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
What in that case, what are the specific events of the flashbacks? What are the things that are revealed to the player? Because, like, does the delivery person just deliver the thing and then leave and that's it? Or do they have a little bit more going on? Because I think the idea we had originally was that we would have early on in the...
I can see with the delivery man, if we start with the delivery man, we can sort of introduce this area, because if the delivery man's coming in, they need to somehow get to wherever they're delivering. So I could see the flashbacks being them sort of trying to get through the city to where they need to go, and there's like a big hubbub, and it's like they have no idea what's going on. They're just here to deliver some mail, and they're getting very lost in all of this craziness because there's some roads that are sectioned off like parade style, and it's like, great, I gotta go find a different route because my usual routes all cracked up, and talking to random people that they run into. So like establishing from an outsider point of view that, hey, this place existed, oh wait, something's off.
Yeah, I imagine that, like, as you're saying this, like, I kind of imagine, like, you see this postman come into the city, and it's, like, very reminiscent of, like, the way the Golden City is laid out. Because I imagine that, like, you know, it's, of course, amplified after they died and, you know, had to hide themselves with armor. But the Golden City people must have always been extremely, hierarchical. I cannot say that word. Please someone say it for me.
Hierarchical?
Yes.
They have a hierarchy.
Yes. So that must have been already very much in this, like, golf course city. Of, like, you start this flashback and it's very much reminiscent of, like, the way you get into the Golden City of, like, you start with, like, a ring of, like, not really the most fancy people, and then you get further in and you have to, like, there's strict, like, border patrol, border customs customs office, you know, that you have to pass through.
Yeah, like I'm sure the delivery man has to have like a sign-off thing where it's like, okay, you're not from here, but you can come through here for
Yeah.
important package, and this delivery man, one, hasn't had to deliver quite this important a package to this particular area before. Two, like I said, I'm sure if this is like going to be a big thing where it's like, oh, we've got this huge demonstration going on, there's probably like roads and whatnot blocked off, and like police all over the place, quote unquote, protecting things. So it's just kind of one of those things of like, ah, great, how am I gotta find a new route through, and I've not been in this area before, and yada 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 yada. It's annoying. So that leads like an initial sort of exploration of the thing. Like we're introducing this place that feels suspiciously like the Golden City, but we're seeing it from an outsider's point of view, so we don't know yet. And then later on, as we're going through, eventually we also run into memories of this Golden City worker who is sort of trapped working an admin job, who knows more about what's going on and sort of the moral decay, as it were, that the city is suffering, where it's like this person knows that that nothing good is going to happen here, but they can't do anything about it, or at least they don't see any way they can do anything about it. And then eventually we run into more memories where we've got probably a teacher's assistant. The wizard's probably like a teacher's assistant or something. It's like they're sort of involved, but this isn't their project, so they don't really know. They just got sort of roped in to help put some stuff together for bonus credits or something. It's not their project, but their advisor is involved in here, so whatever.
They're here for it. It's just, they're not involved in it, but it's why they're in this location.
They needed someone who knew at least the basics of temporal magics to handle flipping switches, because you don't want to just let anyone do that.
Yeah, and they kind of, it's like the thing of like they flew him over, or them over, and then was like, well, we need someone to like handle this specific equipment, and I know it will take like 5 minutes, but you still have to be here for it. So please, can you just come over? They're like, fine. Yeah, they're entirely working on their own stuff, but also they are the expert in this with this specific device, and so they have to be there to set it off. Even though they have no idea what's going on, because they aren't interested, because it's not their project.
They are there, dare I say it, for administrative purposes.
They're there because only so many people know how to work this particular subsystem of the machine without destroying literally the entire city block.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the subsystem is attached to a larger machine, which does destroy the entire city block.
And a bit more. Yeah. They're there mostly so nobody gets mad at them for not being there.
Yeah.
To flip a switch.
You say not everybody knows how to do this. A lot of people know how to do this, but not everyone is technically qualified. So you need somebody who has the certification so that if something does go wrong, then nobody gets in trouble. Unfortunately, something goes wrong on such a big scale that it doesn't matter. But,
And it's like, nobody... Normally it wouldn't matter, but this is like a student that's doing an official thing, so it should be on record that somebody official is doing this. That has the proper qualifications.
I'm suddenly reminded of, there was a thing brought up by a gentleman who does bomb diffusion type stuff. So like part of the bomb squad. And someone basically asked him, it's like, okay, well, are you ever like worried about that you're going to get like the wrong thing flipped or whatnot? And he's like, and the answer was basically, well, I'm not too worried about it because either I'm right or it's suddenly someone else's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is very much a very large, this is now someone else's problem, and that someone else is life and death, because now they've got just a whole backup
Yeah.
of nonsense.
The temptation in a technological society is to give everybody clothes reminiscent of modern technological societies, but they could wear anything, so I'm going for...
I mean, I've met plenty of professors where you just sort of look at them and you're sitting here going, did you just walk out of a time machine? And not all of them were humanities involved. I worked with a gentleman who has since retired, who did work in physical science type things, natural science type studies, and still used acetates. Still used overhead projectors.
Yay!
And he was doing that within the last 5 years. So it's not even he was still using acetates, but he stopped working in the 80s. No.
I remember
he was still
when...
teaching up into, not quite to 2020, but almost to 2020. He was the reason we still had overhead projector lamps in many of the classrooms, because he still used those acetates.
I remember I did, when I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to go to university for, I applied for a bunch of different things, including mathematics and teaching, and in order to get in I had to do a little presentation about maths. And yeah, they asked me to prepare a speech, a little talk on an area of maths using an overhead projector. So, I don't know how long ago this would have been. Oh god, I was at university for a while, wasn't I? Now that I think about it, it's like 8 years.
I mean, I know
Plus
one other gentleman who I'm pretty sure if
12?
tomorrow computers and phones and just the entire internet in general just vanished, he would be very happy. But also he is an ancient, he's a history professor whose interest is in like ancient and medieval history, so, you know.
Well, that doesn't really say anything.
There's a hole in this.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about, like, what the aesthetic of the Golden City would be before it became the Golden City. Because it's kind of like, in Lewis's aesthetic pictures, it's, like, very, like, very futuristic technology armor, kind of.
Yeah.
So I imagine,
Which,
like, before they did that, it was kind of like cyberpunk meets 16th century.
That's steampunk, isn't it?
So
No.
basically Warhammer 40k?
I don't know enough about Warhammer 40k
Yeah.
to say that, but I mean, like,
Let me see if I can find a good picture.
I was
also, like, not really cyberpunk, because an important part of cyberpunk is the punk part, and the Golden City
Yeah.
people would be the opposite of punk, but cyber capitalism has a strange ring to it.
Oh, here's one picture of a gentleman with just a gun. Okay, well, put that image in.
what again, my brain tries to autocomplete things and ends up coming up with something new. Yeah, see, I think that's the kind of armor that like Lewis is aiming for with the Golden City. Something that's sort of very ostentatious and decorative, which I just cannot get my head around. Whoops, dragged the wrong thing. But the thing I thought might be a sort of like how do we replicate this motif but in the past is like, and I have no idea whether or not this thought is in any way usable. But just like the same sort of clothing motifs of like pauldrons and headwear, helmets and stuff like that, but instead of being made of metal, they are just fabric. That's just the clothes. And they've just sort of mimicked it in the afterlife with armor.
Yeah, you could do very fun stuff with that, because they are like very like, you know, show off basically. They're peacocks, all of them. So yeah, of course they're gonna have like probably very elaborate headwear with feathers that you could easily mimic with the helmet, and like massive, like I imagine like shoulder what's the thing for you to make your shoulders look bigger.
Shoulder pads.
Shoulder pads, thank you. Like that's in like all of their clothes. That's very like trending at the moment, to just make yourself look bigger and fancier, and with the more space you have to decorate, the better, kind of thing. Lots of feathers and like embroidery and little like bedazzle. That's the thing that I was looking for. It's just like little like little diamonds and stuff studded into fabric.
And all of a sudden, we have taken away the nice, kind gesture that we gave the developers of this game of saving a bit of time by reusing a character model. Now every character in this city has to be incredibly ostentatious, with tiny bits of embroidery and decoration and many feathers. And
it's absolutely a pain to render, yeah. But yeah, I imagine it's very much like that, like very stupidly elaborate, and like, you know, before, like in the current like age where they're all ghosts, like the armors are the most important, and then like in the past it was, you know, tailors who worked day and night bedazzle every single inch of fabric.
I'm not gonna work on this. I'm terrible at designing things. What was the idea when we were talking about like the worst job in any society? In a fantasy story, it'd be like a tailor for elves.
Yeah.
Would just be an awful job to have.
Yeah. Exactly. The same is true for here. You have people who just want the most out of their clothing. And it's dreadful. Also, just, whatever job in the city is, like, responsible for picking up, like, the tiny remnants of feathers that, you know...
Yeah, the feather picker.
Yeah.
It's lucrative, you can sell them again, but...
Because it's always, like, the, you know, the big, fluffy, like, feather boas. They shed like crazy. If everyone in this city is like wearing feathers on the daily, it would be a And also, like, bedazzled and glittered and, you know, everything. It'd be a nightmare to clean up.
I imagine the wizards are somewhat immune from this.
Oh yeah, they automatically, like, put up a shield whenever they enter the city. Just, nope, not gonna deal with that. I'm gonna find glitter in my in my coat for the next 500 years. We're not gonna do that. I still remember that from the last time I got here.
Yes, I don't know what happened to Ragdoll, but
Me neither.
I wasn't going to say anything because usually quick disconnect, come back. But
Yeah.
here's hoping Ragdoll has a swift recovery from the monster that ate them. That's what I assume's happened. Big old monster. Made of math students.
A monster made of math, dude.
Yeah. I think they call it a school.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Anyway, I like the idea that this wizard just has no time for the ostentation and stuff like that. And they're just like, my grandma knitted me this cloak, and I'm gonna wear it.
200 years old, and I wear it on the daily.
Because all
There's
their clothes.
nothing wrong with that, and everyone in the city is just like, ugh, dreadful.
Everything about this is knitted hat. See, I was going to try and do an interesting thing with the brim, but with the knitted hat, it's just going to be all floppy, isn't it? So we've already got a character who's sort of positioned to be not really taking things everybody's saying particularly seriously, because they're all worried about stupid things like ostentation. It's like, look at my knitted hat, it's mine.
Yeah. You just go in their memory and it's just like, you know, a lot of complaining about, like, the city. And then also, you know, just some casual comments about there being a project and them having to be there for it and to flip a switch and something, PhD students, thesis, experiments, it's fine, whatever.
There's a project, it's called Project Via. Also, hi Ragdoll.
Hi. The Wi-Fi, the power blipped, which meant that the Wi-Fi blipped out and had to reset. So that's where I've been
Yeah.
past few minutes.
Well, I hypothesized that you were eaten by a monster made of math students. That was mine.
I am sure I've got some math students who would like to see me gone, but
Just in general.
but also the reason why they're struggling is because they're not doing the things I asked them to do, so, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I
mean, I hate math, but damn.
Yeah, I mean, at that point,
well,
you would expect that they would have at least some sort of invested interest in actually paying attention or doing something, you know? Like, you can try something like that and then whoops, it turns out at this level it's not my thing. That's cool. That works fine. But actively jumping into a subject voluntarily and then going, I'm not going to listen to anything the people who are teaching this are going to tell me.
See,
Seems a weird thing to do.
I would agree with you if the students I had trouble with were my math majors in my classes for math majors. But I teach a lot of support classes for majors that are not mathematics. So I get a lot of like business and biology students in my intro statistics class. And none of them apparently want to be there and do the work necessary for the course. And it's not like I set the bar very high.
Right. Yeah.
Because I'm going into this knowing that these are not math people. These are people who want to do biology, but the biologists have looked at everything biology related and went, right, in order to do biology well, you need to have a basic understanding of statistics. And then everyone else has to go from there.
Unfortunately, one of the biggest issues facing humanity today, maths is useful.
Yeah.
So if you want to do a subject, that's been helped out by maths, you gotta learn some maths. Oh, horrible.
Yeah, that's why I just chose to ignore all maths and numbers and become a history student.
That we ignore all numbers and go to a subject entirely defined by dates. Not entirely defined.
You don't need to know dates. I've never remembered a date in my life.
Oh, that's good, because I'm terrible at remembering them.
Unfortunately, that means you get to deal with the philosophers who are...
No. Get them out of my face.
Chibi does deal with philosophers, but not in the way you're expecting.
There's a fine line between philosophers and mathematicians, and I would argue that the philosophers are worse.
The philosophers are worse. That class tested my... I did one class in philosophy, as most people know. And my patience got severely tested in that class. Because after a certain point, my brain just shuts off and I get increasingly annoyed with people trying to think.
Yes, apparently, it's good news. I haven't mentioned this on stream. I'm philosophy. Some people who do write philosophy things that are way too long about games did an article about something in games, something to do with Kafka. I don't know. I tried to read it. It was very long. And they mentioned me. I am Kafka-esque, apparently.
Yay.
Or more specifically, Beyond the Foggate was Kafka-esque in ways I don't really understand. They did explain the story that was by Kafka, which just kind of seemed like a deliberate nonsense story, and didn't feel much deeper than that.
he was. I don't think surrealism was ever used to describe writing, but that's sort of the same idea.
Yeah. So yeah, it was just this nice little surreal short story he wrote, I think, and it seemed quite nice. And then somebody wrote an article about games that was longer than that about that, and I was a footnote in it. So yay, I'm famous.
I clicked on the article and then Control F crispy parsnips.
I actually tried to read it. I got a decent
I did not. I saw how long that article was and was like, no, I'm just here to support my friend. And you're indeed a footnote, and they say your work is charming, and I love that for you.
Yay, I'm good with charming. Charming and silly. They're the only things I really aim for.
Well, you've aimed well, and you hit. You hit the target, because usually what you do is silly and or charming. And
yay!
mostly both.
I can stop now. Yay, bye everybody.
No! Come back! We still need to finish Project Via.
Oh. When do we finish this? There's no linear progression here. We're just sort of jumping backwards and forwards.
I mean,
I mean, we
don't
could
know.
always pull the new year, new me, and say January is when we're starting over.
Could do. Well,
Yeah.
that'd be 1, 2, 3.
Sounds good to me.
Seven more streams to finish this entire thing.
Because
I mean, we're
Never.
never going to finish this anyway.
no.
Look, I think it's fairly obvious from at least like the 4th or 5th stream that this was ill thought out. Like it was a fun idea, and then you started doing it, it's like, oh, hang on, there's some issues there.
Yeah, I mean, what it's like it became worse once we went like this game is not linear.
Yeah.
No, it just
that
became
doesn't
like
help.
and has multiple endings. So it's like because you were pretty early on, you were like, at the end I'll do like a draw through of it, and that will be the end of it. But then was like, how would you even?
Well, I kind of
How
started
would
with the
you
storyboards.
Yeah, you've done some storyboards, and now you've stopped.
Well, because I was waiting to try and work out what was going on with the flashbacks, and then had to
I
design
get it. I
Wool Wizard.
get it because it's a hard thing to storyboard when we don't fucking know. But also, like, this is never gonna end.
It's really hard to have hinty filled flashbacks if we don't know what we're flashing back to.
Yeah. What I should do is I should storyboard what we talked about the previous week. That'll work. I'll definitely remember.
Also, I'm really liking this Captain Morgan pose for our young plant protagonist.
Yeah, plantagonist. Good draws.
Maybe we should pivot and just make a story about him.
I mean, that's the implication, is that there is just a story. There's an entire game happening that is these characters. They have a fully fleshed out linear story.
Mm-hmm.
Also, eel.
Yeah, when I try to draw horror, it turns goofy, I guess.
That's great. That's right up my street. Goofy horror. More of that, please.
It's very good.
It's very easy for me to draw horror when I'm not supposed to.
I mean, goofy horror is great because it's not too scary.
Well, here's a
I
horror.
made the mistake of watching the Resident Evil 8 DLC today. That's gonna haunt my nightmares.
No.
Oh no, is it actually spook?
There's a very spooky section with mannequins meet the angels from Doctor Who.
Oh, lovely.
That's dope.
Classic horror.
So they walk until you look at them, and then they come to a halt, but it's not like a sudden stop, so you still see them move a little bit, and it's awful, and I hate it. Kira, it's in the Beneviento house again.
Okay.
So
I've heard good things.
great. There's many dolls and mannequins, and I would not recommend if you hate
Lovely.
any of those.
5 stars on
And the
TripAdvisor.
Viento's house is where you put all of your horror shit you don't want anymore.
Yeah.
The shit of horror.
It was like, normal Resident Evil, kind of monsters, monster mush. These are
The
creatures,
monster
I guess.
The Monster Mush.
I mean, they were just, kind of like weird.
It was some
faceless
graveyard slush.
monsters. And there were some like cool, like horrific imagery with like the character you're playing as, like different versions of those, like having died in different ways. all throughout the place.
Oh.
So it was, kind of cool and creepy, but also very Resident Evil, and then it gets to the Beneviento house again, and it just turns into a horrible mannequin nightmare house. Right.
Yay! Happy dreams! Happy dreams.
It's
But-
fine.
Put something nice in the pillow, something that smells good. So you can smother yourself with it and go, ooh, it smells of cheese. Well, that's what Kiro's saying with the... They're going to watch some Let's Plays and then smother themselves with a pillow when that happens.
Oh.
Make it smell nice. But yeah, I'm not suggesting people smother themselves with pillows in general. This is
Out
not...
of context, it sounded weird.
This is not a
Fun
general
tip.
call.
If you
Fun tip.
smother yourself with a pillow, make
But
sure
remember
it's
the lavender.
scented. Yeah, I watched the DLC and it's nice. I don't. It's fine. I don't have too high an opinion of it, but it's nice. There are some cute moments in there.
It's DLC. It's good.
It's DLC, yeah.
I like the texture of this wizard.
It's all knitted.
Oh.
Everything's made of wool.
They
As
are
a direct-
comf.
As a direct antithesis to everything else in this city. They are handmade woolen.
Best kind.
I can't draw
So
characters without
next
some sort of
is
gimmick.
branch leaf.
Branch leaf? Oh, the middle character. Oh, they've got like, we were talking about lots of decorations and stuff on characters, and feathers was a motif, so I just stuck a bunch of feathers.
Mm-hmm. I was thinking with like 3 characters that like one is wool and one is like another material.
One is
Feathers.
wool, feathers, and that like a plastic fluffy stuff you get in like mass-produced plushes.
Batting?
Yeah,
Boom.
I was gonna say stuffing, but that's making me think of food. So
Yeah, I mean, usually in quilting we call it batting, and batting can technically be made out of a bunch of different things. A lot of the stuff these days is polyester, but it is also made out of cotton or wool. Though usually, if it's made out of cotton or wool, you need to quilt. You need to have more closely spaced quiltings because it'll come apart when you wash it.
Batting is like in armor as well. I think in historic armor.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me.
Oh, baseball comes up. If you Google batting armor.
yeah, I guess makes sense.
I mean, I guess if you were looking it up, you'd be looking up quilting batting instead of just batting, because yeah, that's just gonna find you baseball people.
It's
Or
not
quilt batting.
something I usually think about as a Dane.
Now I'm just imagining people made of baseball. Strange baseball people.
Oh, there's a picture of 3 different things of batting made out of different materials. So yeah, that's usually on the inside of a quilt.
Well, there we go. We learned something today. Which we will promptly forget.
My brain just went, like... I know what baseball is. What's it in Dutch again? What's the name in Dutch? I've forgotten. And then I immediately went, oh yeah. It... Because the Dutch word is honkbal. And now I can only think of honk as,
Honk.
you know, the little goose emotes.
Honk ball! Yes, I play that. It's the way you play
Thinking-
honk ball is you play any other ball game and then a goose steals the ball and you gotta get it back.
I was thinking HUNK ball.
Oh, that's beach volleyball.
Cause yeah, the I assume it's base in English where you like have to run to are called is called a honk in Dutch.
Nice.
You run to a honk.
Which is funny because no, in the goose sense,
really
you run away
funny,
from a honk.
actually.
I was like, I've never thought about it, you know, in any other way than, oh, that's just, you know, what the sport is called, and I cannot think of anything but the goose emote. So, you're welcome for that, I guess. And
Yay!
thank
New
you.
sport. New traditional Dutch sport.
Honk.
Honk ball.
God. Trying to play baseball with a goose just doesn't sound very fun. My parents used to be part of a softball league. Putting quotes here, it was a thing started by a bunch of various churches, where basically it's like, hey, as a like activity thing, each church will get together like a little softball team out of their members, and over the summer we'll do games and whatnot, and it's just like a fun thing to do. And so we'd switch around various fields because some of the churches have like a big field in the back for various things, so it's like we can use this as a baseball field, and some of them are close to schools where the school's like, yeah, you can use our baseball field at these times or whatnot. And I just remember one year they ended up having to pause the game because the outfielder went out into the outfield and they found that a bird had been nesting out there in the field, so they had to like adjust where we were playing because it was not fond of the fact that there were a bunch of softball players out by its nest.
I mean, yeah, I wouldn't be.
When you first said playing baseball with a goose wouldn't be fun, I first imagined like playing baseball but with the goose as a bat. I was like, no, that wouldn't be fun.
No.
Yeah, no, that wouldn't be fun for anyone.
No, don't do that. Sounds like a bad idea.
I see we're doing Queen of Hearts version. Some Alice in Wonderland
Only
shit
with
going on here.
you know, a bigger chance of death for you as the player.
Yeah. Ah, look at it go. Honk.
Honk.
I'm good at honk. Look at that good honk.
Honk.
Ah, it's angry. My ball.
Angry at ball.
Also, absolutely bloody huge.
I mean, yeah, if that's a football, that's just... That goose is as large as a person.
Yeah, that game got called off.
Terrifying to think about.
No way anybody continued playing that game.
I mean, I'd say maybe it's a swan, but swans aren't that big either.
Yeah.
That'd also be terrifying.
Mm.
I just drew a small ball and loved it, and you know, painting the whole ball.
Again, silly. Silly's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, should we for whatever action it may consequence, that's almost a sentence, should we spin wheels?
Sure. Yes. We might as well.
There's no reason not to. That's
Yeah, exactly. It's a fun part, you know. You gotta get...
yeah.
You put a lot of effort into these wheels and these symbols, and
I try.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's
we
pointless,
need
but
to
I try.
celebrate that. So spin those wheels.
It does seem like the second time I do something, it sort of falls apart. So like the Forest of Doom was fun, the Seventh Day of Chaos was just 16 Symbols was interesting, and then this was but so next time I need to do something completely different.
Third time is the charm.
No, completely different. Spin. We've all got our own zones.
Oh,
And items.
yay! I can do
The
items.
vaguest objects.
Yay!
Well, that's gonna
Um,
make typing things easy.
Is there anything... I mean, we still haven't really worked out what is being delivered in Act 1 to all of these places, so...
I think it was just general shady shit.
Well, some of the mafia stuff was. But yeah, you could think of like, hey, if you're doing your delivery job in these locations, what would people want to order? We have a mail system. What would people order?
That would be fun. Ooh, we can draw some presents.
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 We're gonna create an economy.
A present.
Hopefully more... Then we'll have more jobs then, you know? Admin,
Yes.
I mean, to
admin,
be
merchant, and
fair-
postman.
Present
To
wrapper.
be fair,
That's-
a lot of human history involved your jobs were organizing shit, selling shit you made, or moving shit around that someone else made.
I mean, yeah, but also... It's like at first we were all making merchants for this game, and then during like this draw through that, I mean, like when we actually started talking about bloat, everything turned into admin.
And then when we reminisce on it, we will come up with the third job, which all of the characters will now suddenly do.
Of course.
And we could just have a job system like in Dragon Quest. Everyone can do any sort of job. Like here we've got a postman job, and then eventually we can also branch out into...
Oh no, I like sort of like a Final Fantasy V sort of like job system where you can equip a job to a certain character and then they have new abilities and all that sort of stuff, but there is literally postman and admin, that's it.
And you have to master so many jobs in order to get the job of hero.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you have to be everything to be the hero. You have to master every skill, every job.
You gotta 100%
We got a
the
reason
game.
for all the mini games.
The minigames count as points towards the admin job. And actually delivering things counts towards the points of postman job. So
That's how you get the good end.
We have to do all of the jobs, including the job of graduate assistant. we will become a wizard.
But not with, actual magic or anything.
yeah, no.
we'll
It's mostly admin.
We will become a graduate assistant to the archive wizard, and that's just that involves no magic whatsoever. It's just all paperwork.
Yep. But sometimes occasionally you will have to take some sort of archive element and take it to somebody, or indeed retrieve an archive element from someone else. Basically, you're moving things. You're a postman.
You're a postman who does a lot of admin.
Yeah.
So you have to master those two skills before you can go in and be a archive graduate assistant.
Yeah.
I love that, the idea of, if you get more and more points in the system, the more fame and fortune will just be like, here, do this for us. They start employing you.
And that's how you can undermine them. The only true way to beat them is admin.
Yeah, because they technically don't have any paperwork. They can't own paperwork.
Yeah, no. Well, admin and mail. That's the name of the game.
Project Via, column, admin and mail.
Yep. That's Fame and Fortune's real names. And on that note, thank you for coming along and doodling. Thank you, Kira, for chatting. Sorry I didn't reply to things. There's a lot going on. Like mail and admin. Yeah.
I still like our little Leaf Hero boy.
Leaf Hero Boy's cool. Let's go back
I know
and
we
look
have
at
a
Leaf
name
Hero
for him. It's just escaping my brain at the moment because
It
my brain
was-
is just soup this time of year.
Yeah, it was like a Latin plant name, wasn't it?
It was... Quirky.
Quirky. Quirkus.
Quirkus pungans.
Quirkus pungans.
Quirky.
Yeah, that's a good name.
Or pungans.
Or Quirkus Quirky Pungans. It's the full name. Yeah. So thanks for being here and doing stuff and being good. You're all good.
Oh, you.
No, you. All the fireworks joined in. Yeah, marvelous. They waited until the end. That's nice.
Signal the end of the stream.
Yeah, we end the stream as usual with fireworks.
Always.
That says on the screen that on Tuesday it's Clive Barker's Undying. It's not. It's Hitman 2.
Hitman.
I spent a decent amount of time today trying to get it to work. It does hopefully now work. Apparently, I needed to wrap it in a different rendering system that allowed me to limit the frames, because if there were too many frames, everything went extremely slowly. Which is the opposite of what I would have thought.
Okay, interesting.
But I think I've solved it now.
As
So, yeah,
long
it
as
should
it works just as well as Hitman 1.
Yes, that's what I'm aiming for.
That's the goal.
Apparently, iffy frames can cause character AI to go a bit weird, so I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, also trying to get it to be friendly with OBS. Whatever, you don't need to hear any of this. It's Hitman on Tuesday.
Hitman.
And then Wednesday, I don't know if we want to go back to doing creative streams on Wednesday instead of, because we were doing double streams because of spooky season. So we might do a bit more music on Wednesday. It's been a while. Been a month.
Yeah, do some music.
Do
Good
some
crisp music.
Crisp music. I've got to find a piece of music from Final Fantasy IX to make on stream. To remake, to Reinterpret. None of those things. What's the word? Replace. Anyway, I can't speak anymore. Have a lovely week, everybody. Look after yourself. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.